10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Isreal León here, live from Leaf Cigar Lounge with a special episode of Conversations from the Humidor. I have my good buddy here. Well, he's becoming my good buddy, Mr. Nick of LH Cigars. Nick, what's going on, man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on, Leon.
I'm good. Always a pleasure,
Israel.
man. Talk to me. Talk to me. So talk to me about the cigar. Talk to me about your background. Talk to me about how this came to be. I'm super excited.
All right. Well, all my background and training is from Cuba. I have a very Cuban palate, and I was making custom Cuban cigars for the private lounges of the La Vida Havana company in Saudi Arabia. So I simply put a band on it originally. The logo of the company was LH, so people were handing them out all over. The one thing about Saudis is they're very generous, and they were going all over the world and handing out these cigars, and it had an LH logo on it, similar to the one that you have there. And then
Okay.
people were calling me and saying, "Hey, man, what's this LH that I keep seeing? Where can I get them?" So I go, "Okay." It started off as a custom cigar for the private clientele of the La Vida Havana lounges, but it started to be known as the LH cigar. So before you know it, I was in 13 different countries, and then I decided to launch in the U.S. a few years ago. I'm smoking, because people are wondering what this is. This is the Nick. It's another line. I'm not as ego-centric as you might think, putting my name on the cigar, but there's a whole story about the Nick line. But the LH is my bread and butter, the core line, and it's made in a factory that is in Costa Rica, and I think everyone should try it. It's definitely a very if you like Cuban cigars, you're going to like the LH because very similar. But I have three lines: so the mild, medium, and full, the Claro, the Colorado, and the Maduro. Israel's smoking the Maduro Churchill right now.
First time having this, by the way. First time. But I have had the
And
Nick. The Nick is amazing. Talk to me about the band. Why is it like the anti-band?
okay, well, everything about Saudi Arabia and the princes and the sheiks, they're about a little bit of an opulence, and it's a higher price cigar overseas anyway. I've brought it down. I like to say I subsidized the cost in the U.S., but I wanted to do something totally different with the Nick. What happened was originally we were going to launch this cigar with a friend of mine called the Island Jim. He owns the Leaf by Oscar line and also the Island Jim. So I made a cigar. It was going to be called La Vida Isla. La Vida is what the L of La Vida Havana stands for, and Isla means island. So it was going to be called the La Vida, the Island Life. So Isla, La Vida Isla. But what happened is right before we were going to launch it, somebody hit us with a cease and desist on that name. So Jim said, "Look, I don't care what we call it. Let's just get it out there. I don't care if we call it the Nick and Jim." So I said, "All right, Jim, I got an idea. Why don't we call it the Nick and Jim PBE?" The PBE standing for Pre-Band Edition. So what we try to do is generally when you're only doing testing blends and things like that, generally what they do is they put a white paper band and it'll say Liga 1, Liga 2. So when you're testing it. So I said, "Jim, why don't we make this the Pre-Band Edition? And we'll put a simple white paper band and we'll type up a little thing." So basically I went on the internet. I found a very crooked and funky looking font, which is that. And it came out as the Nick and Jim. So then the Nick line just has a simple Nick on it with a white paper band. And it's all about the cigar. So people go, "Wow, it's a very simple looking band. It looks like just a white piece of paper." I go, "Well, that's because that's what it is. But what you're smoking, nobody smokes bands in boxes. They smoke the cigar. So the concentration is on the cigar. The cigar, I believe, has a lot of merit, and people will like it if they try it. But don't get confused and don't get, thinking that it's a very simple cigar, because it's not. It's very complex. It just has a white paper band on it. And believe it or not, the shops really embraced the band, and it looks different. And a lot of people tell me, "Hey, man, that looks very boutique, just the fact that it's a white band. So some people may not like it, but it seems to be working for me with the white paper band.
I like it a lot. That's what actually drew me to the cigar in the first place
Mm.
was the anti-band. Like I think people go, "What do you think? What are you smoking? You have one, right?" This is Jerry, by the way.
They can hear me, can they?
They can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me.
I,
Yeah, he can hear
I
you.
can hear you,
I
sure.
am
They.
Absolutely.
Nick Lonsdale.
Uh-huh.
I had a number of Nick cigars prior to this one.
Hmm.
And like the others, this one is definitely full of flavor. Uh, just beginning it, but I will say so far so good.
I got you, man.
I don't know where he is. You're around here somewhere. I
So
don't
I
know where
was
they are,
saying,
but
like it definitely drew me to the cigar. Definitely one of the best cigars I've had. Which one was that? The what do you call it? The
it's
Pizzini?
called the Panzone.
And
Panzone.
what is that? What does that mean?
The Panzone, I don't have one in front of me, but it's basically a figurado. It's
Gotcha.
64 gauge in the center, but it's tapered on both ends. So even though it's a fatter cigar, because of the shape, the figurado, it's a much easier cigar to smoke. What Panzone means
Hmm.
is pot-bellied. So originally I thought the guys in the factory, they named it. I was just going to call it simply the Nick because that was the first Nick that came out.
Right.
But I heard everybody going, hey, Panzone this and Panzone that. So I asked my partner, I go, what the hell? I mean, I speak okay Spanish, but I never heard the word Panzone. What does Panzone mean? And they said, oh, Nick, it means like, like fat guy, pot belly. And I go, oh, so they're making fun of me. And they're like, no, 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 because the cigar is, it tapers out in the middle. It's kind of like got that angled look. And I said, you know what? Perfect. We'll call it the Panzone. So Panzone means pot-bellied, and it's on my figurado. And that's also a very, very unique smoking experience because of the shape.
Hmm.
It's the same blend pretty much as the Nick Toro, but it's in that shape, and it definitely offers a different experience because of the way, in figurados, the position, in all cigars, the position of the tobacco is important, but especially on a figurado, the way it is. So.
I got you. I got you. Well, I enjoy it. I love it. And let's actually get into the meat of what this is about. I like to talk about cigars for maybe 5, 6 minutes, and then the rest of this is not cigar related. So who the hell is
Gotcha.
Nick? Who are you? What's your background? Talk to me.
All right. Well, basically, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. And I started smoking cigars in the 90s and became very passionate about cigars. I was in the high tech world of home theater and home audio and computers. And when that chapter of my life came to an end in 2008, I was doing a lot of work over in the Middle East, specifically in Saudi Arabia with the royal family over there. And those guys really like smoking cigars. So when it was time to kind of go into a new chapter of my life, this particular crown prince son at the time said to me, Nick, why don't we open up a cigar lounge here in the Middle East? And I'm like, you know what? The last thing I want to do is live in Saudi Arabia, but you know what? It'll be a nice project. So that project became the lounge of La Vida Havana. So my job was to procure the tobacco. And as you know, most cigars sold overseas are Cuban. So in 2008 was the first time I went to Cuba, and I fell in love not only with the whole culture, but with the country. It's definitely no place like it on earth. And I started training. I went through first I was having the master blenders there create cigars, and then I started learning. Went through the school myself. I don't know this to be fact, but I think I'm probably the only American that's ever gone through the blending school there.
How
And
was that? How was that being over there in Saudi Arabia with those guys? They live by different rules and stuff like that, right?
Saudi Arabia is a totally different thing. Again, not someplace I would want to live, but because it is so different,
Right.
again, alcohol, not that I'm a big drinker, but of course, alcohol is strictly forbidden. Even smoking is not, it's kind of frowned upon, but there's the princes and the sheiks and the people of means, which is the majority of the country. They like to smoke cigars. The private lounge of the La Vida Havana, we had about 100 members, and each one of those guys probably had humidors bigger than most stores you've ever seen. So they bought a lot of cigars, and we did well. And then from there, I started creating custom blends for particular princes, and then I made a blend that became the house blend of the La Vida Havana Lounge, and that became the LH cigar. Started off with the Maduro, Then I had the Colorado, which was a medium, and the Claro, which is a Connecticut shade Ecuadorian, which is a very, very flavorful Connecticut. If you like a very flavorful Connecticut, that's the one I would recommend as well. So I launched it as an American. I figured, you know what? I know the last thing I know this country needs, meaning the U.S., is another cigar. There's only 5 million different cigars, but I really believe that the cigar had merit, and
Right.
especially if you like Cuban cigars, that's what the LH brand is about. It's somebody that likes a Cuban cigar. But that's when I came out with the Nick. The Nick line was the first cigar that I blended for the U.S. market in mind, and it's been well received.
That's awesome, man. You know what I was wondering about? So you said they can't drink over there, barely smoke over there. So why open a lounge?
Because the Crown Prince's son, the prince that I was my best client and also a good friend, he was tired of having all these guys. I called them freeloaders, but they would all go to his house at night and just smoke. And so he said to me, Nick, I'd like to get all these freeloaders out of my house. Why don't we open up a lounge? And that's exactly why we did it. And they needed something. Now it's become quite a hit. There's actually 2 or 3 other places in Riyadh alone where you can smoke. But the La Vida Havana Lounge is still there, going strong, and people go there to smoke. We opened up another one in Beirut, Lebanon. That was a whole nother nightmare of a thing. But that's where it started. So the La Vida
Talk to me
Havana
about that.
cigar.
Talk to me about Lebanon. What the hell happened over there?
Well, we opened up a very beautiful lounge over there, 2-story. The Humidor was actually 2 stories. I called it the nuclear reactor because it was kind of central and it was all glass and you could see it from everywhere. It was a beautiful, beautiful lounge. What happened there is right after we opened, Bloomberg decided to offer any city in the world some money if they became non-smoking. And you have to understand, Beirut and Lebanon in general, outside of Cuba, I never saw a country where you could smoke anywhere you wanted. And if they're not smoking cigars, they're smoking hookah or just every shisha, anything you want. They smoke a lot over there. So it's a very big smoking country. So believe it or not, the country grabbed the money and they decided to change the rules about how you, and after we built this multi-million-dollar lounge, they changed the laws. So it became very difficult. First, we had to have open glass and all this stuff, and it just didn't work. And we had to close that lounge, which is a shame because it was a beautiful lounge. I got plenty of pictures I got to show you, Leon, at some point. But yeah, that was Beirut. But the good news is
It's all right, man. That's why it's live.
yeah. Well,
That's
the
why
good
it's
news,
live. I think we're taking an ice break. Hold on.
all right.
I think we're taking an ice break.
There he is.
Oh
Anyway.
my goodness.
Anyway, the good news is that the cigars started to take off, and there's a lot of great countries, including this one here in the United States, where you can purchase, the La Vida Havana cigars. Right now, I'm in 300 plus cigar shops, which sounds like a lot, but isn't, because really, in order to be successful here in the United States, there's about 2,000 really good cigar shops. And again, it's a very competitive market. And it's something that, I'm not a big believer in the marketing side of things, but obviously it helps. So my thing is having people try it. If people actually smoke the cigar, they'll tell their family, their friends, and hopefully it'll take off organically. But
So let's
invite
talk
everyone
about
to
something
try.
for a second, real quick. So
Sure.
as an entrepreneur, right, you've gotten into
Yeah.
over 300 shops. How have you done that? Has that been like foot to the grass, foot to the pavement? Have you gotten help? Do you have distributors? Like, talk to the people that maybe that are also entrepreneurs or want to dive into their own business, but maybe they're just, hesitant to do so. Like, how'd you get into those 300 shops? Because I think people can utilize this information with whatever business that they're involved in and really take their growth to another level.
Well, in the cigar world here in the United States, there's pretty much 2 ways to distribute your cigar. 3, which is the way that I did, and the most difficult way. The first way is if you want to spend a lot of money, you hire in-house reps and you send them out. But the reality is it's very difficult to make a living selling one brand of cigars. Few successful companies have done it, but not many, like Alec Bradley for one. They have in-house, the latest new brand that's put a lot of money into it is McAuliffe, and they've hired, and they're selling one brand. The other way, where 95% of all cigars are distributed in the United States, is through a network of what they like to call brokers. What a broker, a cigar broker, is somebody that sells not only, let's say they would sell LH, but they would sell, every other, let's say another 5 or 6 different brands. And when you have a repertoire of like 6 to 10, some people have 10 different brands, and they visit the shops, and you get them to buy it. Now, the way that I did it is I went. I believe that nobody can sell my cigar as well as I can. But the reality is there's so many different brands out there, and most brokers, they try to take the path of least resistance, meaning, brands that have been heard of and marketed, they want to go in and just take the orders for it. And it's great when you can do that once you get the recognition. But at this point in my game, early on, I would say is, I'm going to the right shops and having a tobacconist say, hey, Mr. Customer, I know you like brand X. Well, I have this brand here I think will be right up your alley. Why don't you try this? The reality is, if I can get people to try the LH and the Nick line, they're going to not only smoke it, but smoke it often.
So for
That's
all
how
you
I've done.
entrepreneurs listening to this gentleman here has physically walked into 300 shops,
More
pitched
than
his
that.
cigar. I'm just saying,
That's
pitched his
only the
cigars to
ones that I got in. I would say I've
so
probably
so
been into like 700 shops.
so you get 700, so you get 500 no's, well 400 no's and 300 yeses, which could literally turn around to a multi-million-dollar business. So never stop grinding. Always put your foot to the pavement, and if you believe in your product, it'll sell itself.
Well, that's the key. But the reality is the other shops would say, look, this is a great cigar. But what I've learned in this business, and in the United States especially, sometimes it doesn't matter how good of a cigar it is. They want people to walk in the door and say, hey, can I have brand X I've heard about? They want to sell that. There's a lot of shops that don't actually hand sell a cigar. If you hand sell a cigar and you have people that say, hey, man, this is worth trying, try this, then they're going to try it. The other shop's going, hey, listen, maybe, it's a great cigar, but nobody's heard of it. And the reality is, eventually, like when I go into a city, I'll give you one example. Columbia, South Carolina. Getting into that first shop in Columbia was difficult. But once I got into that first shop, people started talking. The buzz was there. I go back a month and a half later, the other shop's like, you know what? Let me try it. So then I got the second shop. Once you get 2 shops in the city, then the third comes on real easy. Now I have 5 shops in Columbia, South Carolina, because believe it or not, some guys goes, oh, can I get an exclusive? Yeah, I can give you somewhat of an exclusive. But the reality is, the more shops that carry it, the more people hear about it. And as you know, cigar smokers, they tend to go to different shops anyway. So if they've smoked the LH at Leaf, they'll go to down the road to another shop, and say, hey, man, you've tried the Nick. So the customers or the clients, the smokers that are smoking it are the ones that are going to promote it. And that's the way I've been doing it.
So let me ask you a question. Back on this entrepreneurial tip. So
Yeah.
you walk into 700 shops, 400 people say no, 300 people say yes. You get it into the right shop. The customers start demanding the product. They go into other shops. You get more sales, right? But
That's
how does that actually lead into you marketing your brand? Like some businesses will lead with the whole I guess like the quality of shops versus the quantity of shops. Like how do you pick your shops? Are you going into just any Joe Small shop, or is there certain criteria? How does that work with you?
Well, to be honest, when I first started, I was happy for anybody to bring it in, because I figured quantity, the more shops could get it in, the more shops would sell it. But what I've learned is a lot of shops would kind of bring it in just to kind of shut me up. They'd bring it in, they would sell it real fast with no intention to continue to sell it. It was almost like cigar of the day. So now what I do is I go to a shop, I'll look around, I'll see if it's the right type of shop, and I'll go, you know what? This cigar won't work here. And they're like, well, what do you mean? The more you tell somebody no, believe it or not, sometimes they want it even more. But the reality is the shops that just have very large humidors that they don't hand sell them, or they just want people to go in and pick their own. I have shops that I'm in like that. But the reality, when you have, 5,000 different cigars to choose from, if you've never heard of a brand, you're not going to take that leap. Or some people do, but a lot of people don't. So now I'm looking for shops that I know the tobacconist or the cigar humidor manager or even the owner will say, hey, this is a good cigar. I'm going to turn my customers on to that. So those are the shops that I'm looking for, the ones that are going to try to get them into the hands of their clients. Once they smoke it, that's how it grows organically, and that's what I've been doing.
So listen, this next segment. I'm not anti PCA. I wish I was there. I was supposed to be there, but my good old partner over here, Jerry, who doesn't want to be in the video for whatever reason, some things came up, weren't able to make it, but there was a lot of marketing going on there. There was a lot of people there that had their phones out, a lot of, I won't say gimmicks, but people were using different tactics to try to push new brands and new blends. And, like I look at it as a person who does marketing, right? I look at it as it's not really pure. You know what I mean? Like if I'm selling somebody a story that's not necessarily true about his or her brand and whatever industry it is, then I can't get behind it. I can't back it. So I'm interested to know, did you go to PCA? Did you not go to PCA? Do you attend these events that are all clicked up and stuff like that? Does it lead to sales and growth? Like, what is your overall thinking about, the way people attend these events?
Well, the PCA is a great organization.
Mm-hmm.
They do promote and help, with the FDA stuff and a lot of other things. I did not choose to go this year because I had other commitments as well. And my good friend, Island Jim, who in the past not the year before because we had the COVID, but the year before that, we were in the same booth, and it does work. But what I found is a lot of people will grab it, and that one time, a lot of shops want something new. But in order to get behind a cigar, like now, I used to go, a guy would go, I'll just take these 2 SKUs. And like I said, in the beginning, I'd be happy for them to take anything. But what happens is if a shop doesn't get behind a cigar, if you only have 2 boxes of something, then they're saying, well, this owner or this shop doesn't seem to be behind the cigar. So why should I get behind a cigar? So what I do is I go to a shop that's going to bring in multiple cigars, and so they are behind it. Does PCA work? Yeah. The trade shows, I'm looking forward to doing the TPE. That's another show that's just started in the last couple of years, and they have their show in January. What I like about the TPE is that everybody gets pretty much the same size booth, and everybody's there doing their selling. What happens with the PCA is it becomes like who can have the best booth, who can have the largest, not to mention the costs involved with doing these trade shows. You want to move, you want to hang a banner, and this is not even a joke. You want to hang a banner, that costs $2,000 because the union's got to hang that banner. So the costs involved are high, but apparently, you get into a lot more people's hands. I've done the PCA, used to be known as the IPCPR, and I've done that show 4 or 5 years, and I've gotten some good clients out of there. But the best clients I get are the people that I make connections. I think business in general, we're talking about entrepreneurs, any business in general, it's all about relationships. So if you have a relationship with the shop, with the and every one of my shops, I know the people individually. Now, I do have some brokers in some parts of the country, and they've done a good job as well. But again, I like to meet the owners myself, the humidor managers, because I want to make sure that they like the cigar and they're smoking it, so they're willing to offer it to their friends, their customers.
I know customers are coming in and out, the doors closing and opening. It's all right. We'll edit that out. Jerry, let me ask you a question. I'm going to get past you these headphones. When you look for certain cigars to carry, right? What are you looking for, not only for sales, but like what type of brands are you looking to partner up with, like here at Leafs? I'm just curious. Here.
We're going to share this.
No, just put it in. Talk.
Good thing that I have alcohol swabs for after this. So, I think a lot of the cigar shop owners that are out there and retailers are pretty familiar with the ongoing, the ongoing attempts for newer cigars to make their entry into the market. And, admittedly, I try every single cigar, and I have some of my partners and friends try every single cigar that walks through the door. So I usually go in with the assumption of, I want to give everybody a fair shot. So with that said, I do like working with either cigar company owners. Nick is a good example of that, that are willing to partner and stand behind their product. When Nick came in and we quickly decided to carry his cigar based on taste and feedback from some of our members and from some of our customers. I said, what's the harm? I said, Nick, what's the minimum? 10 boxes, 15 boxes? And he said, no. And I think, when someone stands behind their cigar, they feel pretty comfortable that those 15 boxes or 20 boxes will come, right? And, in this case, as an example, that's where we are. We already
Jerry,
know the cigar. Yep. Go
if
ahead,
I can interject, I recognized that you were somebody that was going to get behind the cigar. So I took away all my requirements because I knew that if you get into the customer's hands, and I knew you were behind it, that it would go organically. I'm not there. It's got to be a win-win situation in business. If the shop owner, I'm not here to kill the shop owner. I want them to sell it. So if it's going to just sit on the shelf, what's that going to do? So I knew with you coming in with what we were going to do, that it was going to grow organically. And as you know, it's taken off very quickly in a short period of time.
Yeah, and I found that, I don't know, that formula has worked well with some of the other brands that I carry, right? Obviously I do carry the things that customers want, and there are a lot of things out there that have had strong legs and strong brands for many years and great cigars. I smoke all of those, but there are a number of cigars that we carry that are from owners and companies that, maybe are not as mature as Nick in terms of, his penetration. And I know, Nick, we talked a lot about, your penetration internationally, but there are a lot of cigars that we carry here and actually do very well with, just based on the formula, like I said. And when we need someone, the owner of that cigar or someone that represents that company to come by to do an event, or just to talk about ways to, help us sell the cigar, because I do think it's important that you know about the cigar. Obviously, Nick can't be here every single day, nor can our other cigar companies. And I think, that willingness to partner with us, to me, is very important. And then look at, I don't have to say the obvious, right? The cigar's got to be good and got to be something that people like. And everybody has different tastes. So, I find that carrying that wide variety and a lot of the new stuff, is a formula for having longevity and making sure that this isn't a let's put it on the shelf, and when they're gone, if they're gone, we're not placing another order, right? And I think it's important to feel good about it being a long-term relationship. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, I think it's important, Jerry, that owners and managers realize that there are so many different palates out there. And just because, let's say, if I was a cigar shop owner, if I didn't like a cigar, it doesn't mean I wouldn't carry it, because my tastes are different than the other guy's tastes. So that's why there's 5,000 different cigars out there, because there's a cigar and there's a taste for everybody. So what I encourage people to do, cigar smokers, no matter where you are on your journey, whether you just started smoking or you've been smoking for 25, 30 years, is to continually try new cigars, because you never know. Your next cigar may be your best or your favorite, because there's so many different palates out there, and yours also changes. People on the cigar journey, I call it a journey because you're on a road and your individual palate actually, you're not the same person you were a year ago or a month ago. So if what you liked a year ago, your palate also changes. So you should continually try. Some people only smoke one cigar, and you know what? If that works for you, fine. But I encourage people to try different cigars, because, like I said, you may find the next one you never tried being your top cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one thing that to me is important is, kind of to piggyback on what you said is, never say that this cigar is better than another cigar. To your point, Nick, I think,
Oh, I hate that.
if anybody has seen Israel's previous podcasts or heard them, he talked a little bit about, or a lot about that. You know, look at, I like to smoke, let's call a spade a spade. I like to smoke Padrones. Never come in here and tell me that if you smoke Padron, this is better. It, it it's not which one's better. It's which one people enjoy. Um, and I'm
Well,
a
it's
type.
one is best for you. Just
That's right.
because somebody likes something, somebody says this is the best cigar in the world. Okay, for you it may be the best, and maybe also the best for you, but you never know. I've been in rooms with plenty of people that they're telling me this is the best cigar in the world, and I'm thinking to myself, not my favorite, but you know what? That's why there's so many different cigars. So the key is to smoke a lot of different things because there are good quality. Now, one thing I say about my brand and many good cigars out there, construction is paramount. So the half the battle in having a good cigar is to make sure that it smokes well, that it's not plugged, that it's burning right. So once you got that part down, then it's a matter of, hey, you're not going to please everybody. My cigar is not for every person out there, but I'm not trying to be. I like to be in somebody's rotation. Somebody, hey, you know what? I love that cigar every now and then. I'm okay with that. There's people that smoke only my brand, and I love that too, because they're the ones that are going to promote it even more. But the idea is that you should try a lot of different cigars and explore. There's something very magical about tobacco, and not only does it bring people together, but it's look, we go back to the Indians with the tobacco being the peace pipe, and I think that we'd have a lot less problems in the world if people could smoke cigars together. And my favorite tagline that I use is I call it the great equalizer, because where else can you have a product that you can share? You could be the CEO of a company, and you can have the guy that works in the mailroom. But yet, when they're sitting down and smoking that cigar together, nothing else matters. It's all about the camaraderie, the connection with people, and it just brings people together. And that's what I love about this business.
Well said. And I know we beat this topic a little bit to death, but I think it's an important one. And besides Nick, we are working with, some other smaller companies and smaller, introductory companies to potentially bring their cigars in house. And there's, I know some cigar owners kind of feel very differently. I'm only going to carry, the quote unquote core brands that are out there. And I think it's because they've, potentially in the past, tried to overdo it and carry too much. And then it's what I'll call a flash in the pan part of their inventory. But I do think it's important to at least have an open mind as a retail owner as to what you carry. And like I said, somebody walks through our door, I am certainly willing to try the cigar and let others try the cigar and get feedback. And Nick, I think yours is certainly going to be here to stay. And the hope is, that as we continue to partner with other cigars, we the approach works the same way. And so looking forward to what we're doing here, and we'll go
Well,
forward.
Jerry, I wish there was 1,000 guys that were like you, with an
That's
open
right.
mind and willing to try different things. And, some things work and some things don't. But if you don't try, you never will know.
Yep.
Thank you
And look at
for
it.
giving me the
Yeah,
opportunity.
it's funny. I always view it as, what do I have to lose? You know, by giving someone a shot, right? Every successful big cigar company out there started small, right?
That's right. That's
And I
right.
think, Nick, I know you're probably not the perfect example because you're no longer small. But some of these other ones, I feel like
You got to
there's
start
always something
somewhere.
new. Yep.
Right.
Good. I'm gonna pass it back to Israel,
Yeah, man, let's
and maybe you want to
wrap it up.
wrap it up.
Oh man. Recapping with everything that we spoke about. I appreciate your time, Nick. I know
Hey,
we have an
anytime.
event going on right now, so we can't talk for too long, but we definitely want to bring you back on so that we can discuss business further. I
Anytime.
definitely, I definitely want people to be able to take what they learned from today Hopefully you're enjoying it over cigar as I am, Jerry is, and Nick as well. And hopefully you're able to take this knowledge and help better your brand. So just don't be pretentious about it. Like again, use Nick's method. It works very well. Let the product speak for itself and move on from there. And if people mess with it and if people like it and they enjoy it, then they'll become repeat buyers. And that's for any business. So hit the ground running. Don't be afraid of 400 no's. You'll get 300 yeses. And till next time, thank you for tuning in to this very brief episode of Conversations from the Humidor with Isreal León, my guy Jerry over here, and Nick of LH Cigars. If you're ever around, make sure you purchase a Nick, the Panzino. Am I saying it right?
Panzone.
The Panzone. By far my favorite cigar that I've had in literally the past probably 5-6 years. So I'm out of here. Thank you so much, Nick. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Peace.